My name is Walter O. Evans. Welcome to a special reading of Frederick Douglass's Oration, given on July 5th, 1852, to the Rochester Anti-Slavery Sewing Society, an essential speech of our nation that has come to be known as "What to the American Slave is the 4th of July?" This reading is brought to you by the Beinecke Library, a place that encourages the engagement of the past in the present for the future. Beinecke Library stewards documents of the human experience spanning nearly 2 millennia and makes them accessible to students, scholars, and the public. My wife Linda and I have dedicated our life to honoring, preserving, and promoting African American art, books, and manuscripts. We have lived with our ancestors through the written and printed word and other documents we have collected and had here in our home. We know very deeply and personally that these materials are living treasures, and we have worked closely with museums and libraries to ensure that what we have collected will live on and will be accessible to generations to come. Beinecke Library is home to the James Weldon Johnson Memorial Collection of African American arts and culture, named for one of the most outstanding leaders for Black liberation in our nation's history. It includes materials that range from first printings of Phillis Wheatley's work to the 18th century contemporary archives of 21st century writers. Linda and I have been proud to be partners with the Beinecke Library and to entrust some of our own collection to the library's care, as we know it is home where historic documents are honored and made accessible now and for the future. In the past years, Beinecke Library has done a public reading of Mr. Douglass' Oration on site in New Haven. This year, the reading is virtual by video, and we hope it will reach even more people. At once timely and timeless, Mr. Douglass's 1852 speech has much to say to our nation today. His words echo, resonate, and live on to inspire and motivate us in our own time. My dear friend and colleague, Professor David Blight, has called Mr. Douglass's 1852 oration the masterpiece of oratory of his life and a rhetorical masterpiece of American abolitionism. As you probably know, Professor Blight himself has lived with Frederick Douglass's words and work, and is the author of the book, Frederick Douglass, Prophet of Freedom, winner of the Pulitzer Prize. Some of Professor Blight's research was done here in our home with Douglass family scrapbooks and with other original material. Professor Blight will follow me in a few moments. I will read the opening paragraph of Mr. Douglass's speech with Professor Blight right after me. You will see him at the gravesite in New Haven of Roger Sherman, one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence and one of the founding fathers of our nation that Mr. Douglass references and invokes in his addresses. Following Professor Blight, you will hear from two other friends of the Beinecke Library, civic leaders and activists Babs Rawls-Ivy and Eric Clemens. They will be reading from the Institute Library in New Haven, a storied organization that has hosted Mr. Douglass in one of his speaking engagements in the Elm City. Beinecke Library and all of us who are reading agree with Mr. Douglass. With him, we say, our business, if we have any today, is with the present. The accepted time with God and his cause is the ever-living now. Join us to listen closely to Mr. Frederick Douglass and mark his words. May they inspire us now for the mighty work in our own time.